Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. Iraq's journey toward full international financial integration remains incomplete, and one of the clearest indicators of that reality is the country's current standing with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Specifically, Iraq has not yet accepted the obligations of Article 8 of the IMF's Articles of Agreement. Instead, it remains under the transitional provisions of Article 14. To someone unfamiliar with the nuances of global monetary systems, this distinction might seem obscure or technical. But in truth, it carries enormous implications, not just for Iraq's financial system, but for the international investors, businesses, and governments who engage with Iraq or are considering doing so. Understanding the difference between Article 8 and Article 14 and what it means for the Iraqi dinar, IQD, is key to understanding Iraq's current and future economic trajectory. To put it plainly, Iraq is still operating under Article 14, a status that was created by the IMF to give countries recovering from war, economic disarray, or political instability time to stabilize their domestic economies before fully opening themselves to global capital flows. Under Article 14, countries are allowed to maintain capital controls, meaning they can legally restrict the movement of money in and out of the country. These restrictions might include limitations on how much foreign currency a resident can buy, how freely the local currency can be converted into other currencies, or how much money investors can repatriate to their home countries. These tools are used as safeguards. They offer a degree of economic insulation, preventing sudden outflows of capital, currency volatility, or speculative attacks on the national currency. While this can be useful during periods of economic fragility, it also signals that the country is not yet fully open for business on the global financial stage. In Iraq's case, remaining under Article 14 highlights a cautious posture by the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI. It reflects a country still healing from decades of conflict, sanctions, internal political instability, and economic mismanagement. Iraq's financial institutions have made progress, modernizing banking practices, introducing electronic payment systems, and attempting to curb corruption and money laundering. But the full transition to Article 8 would mean Iraq is declaring to the world, "We are ready for unrestricted trade, open capital flows, and full currency convertibility." That step has not yet been taken, and for many observers, this is a deliberate and strategic choice. After all, once a country accepts the obligations of Article 8, it can no longer restrict the purchase or sale of foreign exchange for current international transactions. The national currency, in this case the Iraqi dinar, must be freely usable for these purposes. For a currency to become freely convertible, its value must be stable, trusted, and integrated into global financial networks. Iraq is not there yet. There is also a political dimension to this decision. Accepting Article 8 status is not just a technical adjustment. It is a public signal that a government is confident in its economy, its currency, and its institutions. For Iraq's leaders, taking that step means committing to a higher standard of economic governance. It means opening themselves to scrutiny, both domestic and international. This can be a hard pill to swallow for officials used to operating in systems where discretion, opacity, and ad hoc decision-making are the norm. Accepting Article 8 would limit their ability to intervene in markets, issue emergency controls, or use financial policy as a political tool. And yet, it is widely recognized that Article 8 status is a necessary step for Iraq if it wants to fully participate in the global economy. Countries that make the leap often see increased investor confidence, greater financial inflows, and a more stable currency. In some cases, adopting Article 8 status has preceded significant currency appreciation, especially if the move is accompanied by broader reforms. For those holding Iraqi dinar or watching the dinar markets, the shift to Article 8 would be a monumental signal. It would indicate that the CBI is confident enough in its currency's value and convertibility that it no longer needs to restrict its use. It would mean that the dinar could be exchanged more freely across borders, that businesses could transact in it with confidence, and that banks around the world might begin recognizing it as a legitimate, usable currency. It would also remove one of the major psychological and technical barriers standing in the way of any revaluation or float of the dinar. However, This isn't a switch that can be flipped overnight. To move from Article 14 to Article 8, Iraq would need to demonstrate to the IMF and to the international community that its financial systems are robust, its banking sector is transparent, and that it can maintain macroeconomic stability without the need for capital controls. That includes combating money laundering, enforcing anti-terror finance laws, publishing reliable financial statistics, and managing inflation. It also requires broad political support and coordination between the CBI, the Ministry of Finance, and other state institutions. In recent years, there have been signs that Iraq is preparing for this transition. The CBI has worked on strengthening its foreign reserves, modernizing its payment systems, and enforcing stricter oversight over domestic banks. The government has implemented parts of its white paper, economic reform agenda, which includes structural changes to public finance, banking reform, and anti-corruption efforts. Iraq's currency auctions have become more regulated, and new mechanisms have been put in place to track dollar outflows. All of these steps are necessary building blocks toward Article 8, but as of now, Iraq remains under Article 14. In conclusion, the fact that Iraq does not yet have Article 8 status with the IMF is more than a bureaucratic footnote. It is a window into the current state of Iraq's financial development and a key milestone that must be reached if Iraq is to be taken seriously on the global economic stage. Remaining under Article 14 means that capital controls are not only allowed, they are expected. This limits the free convertibility of the IQD, complicates trade, discourages investment, and reinforces Iraq's isolation from global finance. It also serves as a reminder that while Iraq is making progress, it is still on the road to full normalization and integration. For investors, policy watchers, and citizens alike, the move to Article 8 will be a transformative moment, one that signifies Iraq is ready to compete, cooperate, and thrive in a world where financial openness and currency confidence are essential. Until then, the IQD remains tightly controlled, cautiously managed, and only partially trusted on the international stage. Thanks for tuning in to Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed and stay ready.